Texas Senator Ted Cruz has endorsed Donald Trump, enthusiastically, I might add, and the good senator joins me now. Sir, in your endorsement announcement, you said that this race is over. Does that mean you think DeSantis and Haley should drop out?
Well, look, that's a decision they're going to have to make, but I think the results in Iowa were compelling. President Trump won over 51% of the vote. He won 98 counties of the 99. It was a dominant result, and at this point, I don't see a path for any other candidate. I think he's clear he's going to be the nominee, and so I think it's time for the party to unite and to focus on what matters, which is winning in November, beating Joe Biden. This country is on disastrously the wrong path. And I think the consequences of that are enormous.
Who do you think should be Trump's vice president? Do you have any advice to give?
Well, I have no idea. I don't know who he's going to pick, and I don't know that he does at this point. I think he'll go through this process, and I imagine we'll get an announcement right about the time of the convention is typically when it happens, and so it's probably a little premature for him to make that decision. Well, I think he should nominate someone, number one, who maximizes the chances of winning in November and adds electorally to the ticket. But number two, I think it's important to nominate someone who is prepared to be president. Look, the job of vice president, the most important job is to be ready.
If he asked you, would you accept the nomination to be vice president? I mean,
well,
would you? You'd love it, wouldn't you?
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, so I'm not going to lose a whole lot of sleep waiting for it.
And you're not going to answer the question. Okay, I got it, Mr. Senator, I got that. Now let's get serious. Vice President Harris blames Republicans for the crisis at the border. Bear with us, Senator. Just watch this briefly. Roll it.
First of all, everyone knows our immigration system is broken.
Right.
The solutions are at hand, but frankly, we're in an election year, and the folks who want to return Donald Trump to the White House would prefer to talk about a broken immigration system instead of focusing on the solutions that are at hand and engaging in bipartisan work. I think it's critically important that we understand that there are petty politics at play on this issue as much as anything. We need solutions. The solutions are at hand.
Well, Mr. Senator, she says it's your fault, but you are discussing a border deal. Are we going to get a border deal that's acceptable to you?
Well, I have to say, listening to that's an awful lot like an arsonist standing there spraying gasoline on a house that's burning and saying, I don't understand why the firemen won't put this out. She is the one, and Joe Biden is the one, and the Democrats are the one that broke this system. Understand, Joe Biden inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. And they deliberately did this. The week he was sworn in, the numbers skyrocketed. And we now have, in 3 years of Biden's presidency, 9.6 million illegal immigrants, the worst illegal immigration in history. And understand, like her claim, oh, it's Republicans' fault. By the way, that's been their talking point all 3 years. It ignores the fact that they did this unilaterally, and they can fix it unilaterally. I'll tell you how you fix it, Stuart. It's very simple. There's one question that resolves whether you have a border crisis or not. What do you do when you apprehend an illegal immigrant? If the answer is you apprehend them and you put them on a plane and you fly them back to their country, your numbers plummet. That's the reason we got the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years, because we deported people when they came here illegally. What does Joe Biden do? What does Kamala Harris do? When they get here, they let them go. They put them on a plane or a bus, and they send them to every city in America. And by the way, Joe Biden could end that today. He's defying the law. He's flouting the law. And the reason is simple. Biden and Kamala and every Democrat, they want this invasion. They look at those 9.6 million illegal immigrants, and they see future Democrat votes. And they don't care about the people who suffer. They don't care about the people who die. They don't care about the children who are brutalized. They don't care about the 100,000 people who died of drug overdoses last year. All of that, they think, is acceptable political cost for a partisan victory in the end, and that's an incredibly cynical view.
We have millions of illegals here already. Republicans want to deport them. Can you see deporting millions of people?
Absolutely. And by the way, we always have. You know, one of the amazing things, and I will say Joe Biden did something I never thought would be possible. He made me miss Barack Obama. Look, Barack Obama, I disagreed with on a ton of issues. I think he was a bad president. But you know what? On immigration, Obama, by and large, followed the law. Barack Obama deported millions of people. In fact, the left got mad at him. Remember, they used to call Obama the deporter-in-chief? What Biden is doing, no president in the history of our country has ever done. He's just utterly defying the law. He is essentially saying, I don't care what the law says, I'm going to let everyone go. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the last mile of the human trafficking network, and they're sending illegal immigrants to every city in America because for them, politics is more important than the human lives they're destroying.
Mr. Senator, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We always appreciate it. Come again soon, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yes, sir.